Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna continue working on part 9 of this modern office building. Let's get started. So in the last video, we were able to add more columns here, and then we changed all of these walls to a storefront curtain wall, and then also we extended some of these walls right here at the top. So now we're gonna continue working on this. What I want to do is to add those nice wavy design for the facade of the building. So what we need to go first is to go to level 1, and then here we're going to add RP, that's reference plane, and we're going to add a reference plane here, and then we could just copy that one, CO, and then add all of this right here. And then click each and every one of them. We're gonna change the name to 1. So this will determine which reference plane are we gonna add those curves. 5, 6, 7, and then 8. And then we're going to add a reference plane for the void as well, so we can select this CS, and then let's create a void form or a reference plane for the void. So void, we're gonna name it for that reference plane. You can extend it a little bit more so that you can see it's basically for the facade of the building, so we're gonna add it there. Afterwards, we could go to one of those elevations. I think we could do south elevation. This one is where we're facing, so that's good. In level 1, we have it onto here actually. So the void form should be onto this grid line, because our first floor is actually smaller than the second floor and third floor, and my plan is to have this wrap around only here. So now let's go to north, and then we have our void here, and then we have the level 1, 2, and 3, or not level but reference plane 1, 2, 3 here. So now we're going to go to massing, insert, massing in site, and place mass. So in place mass, actually not place mass but in place mass, and you could name it whatever you want. You could just press OK if you want to, and then you need to set it first, and then we're gonna set it to the reference plane that we assigned to. So we have 1 here, so that's our first, and then we could click on the line, and then you want to make sure that 3D snapping is turned unchecked, and then here we could add and then draw on work plane. You need to set it from the draw and work plane. So now we could do is we could create a rectangle. I want those waves to be over here, something like this, a little bit over from the top and then from below. That's fine. So a little bit from top and below, and then here we need to pull it up a little bit, delete this line right here on the front, and then we need to change it to spline. And then here we're going to create that so you want to make sure that everything is properly connected, because it will give you some warnings in the future if you don't. Plus it's going to be harder for us to double check if we don't check it now, because there will be at least 8 more of this. And then set work plane number 2 now, press OK, and then create that model again. Usually I'm gonna put rectangle similar to what we did earlier, maybe a little bit more, and then just click on tab so that you'll be able to delete this front right here, and then create that spline there. You want to make sure that you know the endpoint, and then here we're going to change it to spline, and then I know there is the endpoint right there. And then after that, set again to another work plane, and then here I'm going to create the rectangle first. Maybe I'm gonna do the midpoint, and then delete this one, change it to spine, and then we did this first so we could do and then look for the endpoint, and then clean up a bit, make your waves a lot nicer by just extending it a bit. Needs to look really good, and then set again to a different plane. So that's number 4. We're halfway there. Maybe up to here. Click on tab, delete the ones on that, and then click on spine and look for the end for that. I'm clicking on more stride, and then finishing off. Then set it again, plane 5, click right here, go a little bit on the midpoint there, select, delete that, and then change it to spine, and then look for the end, and then set another one, 6, maybe 3/4 of the last. Delete that. Spline change. And then just look for the last or the end. And then here, second to the last, number 7. Just normal size, maybe right here. Delete that, and then look for the end. Then just finish off. I'm just gonna push it a little bit there. And then lastly, reference plane 8. Just finishing off strong right here. I'm gonna make it a little bit big. Delete that part. Change it to a spline. There we go. And then create solid form and then click finish. If we go to 3D, we have some problems with some of this. We need to close this off. So TR, trim and extend. That's why it didn't close off. So actually I'm gonna undo this. Because I'm going to edit. I'm going to clean this up and then I'm going to select all of them. And then create solid form. Maybe because we already have a solid form here. So what I did is just I undo this up to here. So before you create the form, you need to select all of them first and then click on solid form. So now this one is fixed. We can set the material. So I'm gonna set the material right here now. I'm gonna use a wood material. so I'm gonna use maybe this one first. Click apply and then OK. So now we have this form right here. We can click finish, and as you can see, the wave looks good. But we're not done yet, because we need to create void from here. So we need to select edit in place, go to leave west elevation or east elevation where the front is, and then now we need to create our rectangle, and then here we're going to set it to the void. So set it to the void. So we're setting it already, similar to what we did now, but instead of solid, we're gonna click void. But before that, we need to add some void form. Click on finish, and then let's just see. Want to see how this one looks now, and the void is going the other way. So now I'm just gonna delete this and then do it again. So east elevation, set it void, and then we just need to create something like this. Offset this to -800 and void form. And then we need to move it in front. Because as you can see, it's now, we just need to move it a little bit more, something like that. It's hard to see because the void form is hard to show, but that's how we're going to have it. So I'm just gonna undo this. We can go to one of the levels and we could just push it. Something like this. Maybe we could create more. 1500 each. I'm just adding the void now. So it's easier to just add it on the levels instead of adding it on the elevation. And as you can see, it's easier to manipulate that. And then here as well, so that we don't need to worry about what's going on here. And then select everything. And then as you can see, even the first one is the one that is having a problem. So let me fix that. Go in here, editing in place, and then just copying it. There we go. And by just having that, as you can see, it looks really good. Having that wavy, it completely changed the look of this building now. So thank you for watching. Hope you liked the video. Please hit like and subscribe. Feel free to comment down below.